All right, let's jump right in. In just the few minutes you'll spend with me, thousands of cyber attacks will be happening all over the globe. But today, we're going to zero in on one country in particular, Peru. It's a place where this incredible digital dream is fast becoming a total security nightmare. We're going to break down its escalating war against cybercrime. It's a wild story of ambition, huge vulnerabilities, and a really high-stakes battle for the country's entire digital future. So, let's kick things off with just one number. Seriously, this one number tells you almost the whole story. 26%. That is the jump in economic cybercrime in Peru in just 1 year. We're not just talking about a statistic here. This is a massive, blaring alarm bell. It's a sign that the country's digital backbone is under a constant, relentless, and coordinated assault. So to really get our heads around how we got here and maybe where this is all going, we've broken this down into 5 key parts. We'll start with the big core problem, then we'll trace how the threats have evolved. After that, we'll get a profile on the attackers, measure the real-world damage, and finally take a look at the blueprint for a solution. Okay, first up, Peru's digital paradox. This really is the heart of the crisis. It's all about how the very thing driving Peru's progress, its rush to go digital, also ended up painting a giant target on its back. Here it is, the fundamental mismatch. On one side, you've got this huge national push to digitize absolutely everything: banking, healthcare, government services, to supercharge the economy. But on the other side, the defenses, the laws, the security teams, the enforcement, they just got left in the dust. And that didn't just create a small gap. It created a massive, wide-open door for some really sophisticated attackers to walk right through. So, with that vulnerability set, let's move on to part 2 and see exactly who walked through that open door. We're going to trace how the threats themselves changed from what used to be local political protests into a highly organized global criminal business. What's so interesting here is the story this timeline tells. Back in 2014, the big threat was a local hacktivist group, LulzSecPeru. They were leaking government emails to make a political point. But fast forward to 2025, and the entire game has changed. Now we're talking about global ransomware gangs like Risita, holding the state's main digital platform hostage for Bitcoin. The whole motivation has flipped from ideology to cold, hard cash. Okay, so who are these attackers? Well, in part 3, we're going to profile the main adversaries, because you can't build a good defense if you don't know who you're fighting and what they really want. This table breaks it down perfectly. You've really got 3 totally different kinds of attackers. First, the local hacktivists, like LulzSecPeru, who are all about politics. Then you've got the big money players, these transnational gangs like Risita. They're basically digital pirates out for ransom. And third, maybe the most sophisticated threat of all, state-sponsored groups like APT41, who are playing a long game of espionage, trying to steal critical data from sectors like telecoms and energy. Now for part 4. This is where these threats stop being abstract and become very, very real. Let's look at the actual damage from some of the biggest attacks and really understand the devastating consequences for millions of everyday Peruvians. Let's start with this number, 3.3 million. That's how many people had their sensitive health records. We're talking national IDs, addresses, personal medical details stolen from Escalating, the national healthcare system. I mean, this isn't just data, it's the very core of your identity, and now it's in the wrong hands. Okay, next up, 5 million. That's the staggering number of customer records, phone numbers, emails, national IDs again, that were exposed in just one breach at the telecom giant Movistar. Every single one of those is a potential victim. And then there's this, 3.7 terabytes. That's not a number of people. That's the sheer volume of raw data, the keys to the kingdom, really, stolen from Interbank, a major financial institution. We're talking credit card numbers, security codes, internal company credentials, a direct line right into the nation's financial heart. And here's where it gets really scary, and why all those individual numbers matter so much. See, these aren't just separate attacks. Think of them like puzzle pieces. Criminals grab your health records from one breach, your contact info from another, and your financial data from a third. And what do? They put it all together to build something called an identity dossier. It's basically a complete digital clone of you, and they use it for fraud that's so sophisticated you'd probably never see it coming. This is the real game changer. It's not just about stealing your money anymore. It's about systematically destroying the very idea of a secure digital identity. So, as you can see, the impact here is strategic. It's way beyond just individual victims. These attacks are aimed at the very foundations of the country, its healthcare system, its financial stability, and even its government's ability to operate.
So, after all that bad news, what can actually be done? Let's get into our final part, building the digital fortress. This is the expert blueprint for how Peru can start to fight back and actually secure its digital future.
This quote right here gets straight to the heart of the problem. If there's no law forcing companies to report when they get attacked, the government is essentially flying blind. Each company is fighting its own secret little battle, while the attackers are learning from every single success and just moving on to the next target. This intelligence vacuum is probably the single biggest weakness in Peru's entire defense system. So the solution seems to rest on three key pillars. First, you have to mandate incident reporting. Make it illegal not to share threat information. Second, you've got to modernize the laws. The current ones were not built for a world with AI-driven fraud or deepfakes. And third, you have to build specialized response teams, cybersecurity pros who really understand the unique vulnerabilities of banking or healthcare or the energy sector.
So, let's sum it all up. Peru's digital ambition created a huge security gap. The bad guys have changed, from local activists to global criminals. All these data breaches have combined to create this super threat to citizen identity. And really, the only way forward is a proactive defense, one that's built on mandatory reporting, modern laws, and those specialized teams.
And that leaves us with one final, really crucial question. Peru's crisis is a powerful case study for sure, but this threat is global. In a world where criminals operate across borders without a second thought, can any single nation, no matter how strong, truly defend its digital self all on its own? It's a tough question, and it's one every country on Earth is now being forced to answer.